Think about the last time you saw a video of someone losing their cool online. We usually watch for a few seconds, shake our heads, and think, what is wrong with people? But this is the quiet cruelty of our digital age. We judge a 50-year life by a 30-second mistake. This is the story of Elias, a man the internet labeled a villain before they ever knew his name. Today we look past the pixels to ask, what does it take to break a good person? Elias isn't a bad guy, he's an exhausted one. He's the first one at the factory and the last one leaving his night shift. He's caught in a cycle where he trades his sleep for his children's future. He doesn't work for extras, he works to keep the lights on for one more week. Every morning, he puts on a mask of strength because his family needs a hero. But every mask has a breaking point, and Elias has been wearing his for a decade without a break. The day of the video was just another Tuesday, at least it looked that way. But it followed a weekend of car trouble and a sick child. When a customer complained about a tiny price difference, it was the final spark. The snap wasn't anger, it was a release of years of hidden pressure. In 10 minutes, a hero became a villain, and the trial was over before he even got home. Why do some people stay calm while others seem to trip a fuse? To understand Elias, we have to look at his chemistry. Deep inside your brain, there is a character we call the manager. This is your prefrontal cortex. The manager is the one who reminds you to be polite and professional. But the manager runs on a battery that requires rest and peace to recharge. Elias hasn't given his manager a full charge in years. He's been running on low power mode for so long that the manager finally fainted from exhaustion. On the day of the video, there was no one left at the controls. When the manager goes offline, your brain hands the keys to a much older character, the bodyguard, the amygdala. The bodyguard doesn't care about your reputation, he only cares about your survival. When that customer began to shout, Elias's brain didn't process an unhappy customer, it processed a predator. Within milliseconds, his body was flooded with stress chemicals. His heart hammered like a trapped bird. This wasn't an anger problem, it was a biological emergency response. Elias didn't choose to yell, his brain chose to fight because it thought it was under attack. We often judge people for their willpower, but willpower is a physical resource, like fuel in a tank. You wouldn't call a car bad when it stops on the highway because it ran out of gas. Elias is a man who tried to drive for 10 years on fumes. Chronic stress actually changes the brain, making it harder to stay calm. Elias wasn't becoming a mean person. He was experiencing a structural collapse of his mental resilience. Before we judge the outburst, we have to ask, how many of us are living on 1% battery right now, just waiting for the one comment that flips our switch? If you saw a man staggering down the street carrying a 100-pound bag of stones, you wouldn't be surprised if he stumbled. You would probably offer to help. But Elias carries a backpack that no one can see. Inside are the stones of rising rent, the weight of a car that might not start tomorrow, and the heavy burden of being the only hope for his family. In our modern world, we've made life so expensive that for millions of people, survival has become a full-time job. Elias isn't just tired from work, he's tired from the constant, crushing gravity of a world that keeps adding stones to his bag. We live in a pressure cooker culture. We are told to work harder, buy more, and stay quiet. We are surrounded by images of people living perfect lives, making our own struggles feel like personal failures. For Elias, the pressure comes from every direction. A boss who sees him as a number, a society that judges him by his bank account, and an economy that turns basic needs into luxuries. When a pressure cooker is on the stove, the steam has to go somewhere. If the valve is blocked by the need to be professional at all costs, eventually the whole thing is going to whistle. That grocery store wasn't where the pressure started, it was just where the lid finally blew off. There is a specific kind of loneliness that comes with being a provider. Elias is surrounded by people, but he is fundamentally alone in his struggle. He can't tell his kids he's scared. He doesn't want to worry them. He can't tell his boss he's breaking. He might lose his job. He is trapped in a system of silence. We've built a world that values the product Elias provides, but ignores the person Elias is. Before we judge how he spoke to a stranger, we have to look at how the world has been speaking to him for the last 10 years. If you saw a tree with brown leaves and brittle branches, you wouldn't blame the tree for being bad. You would look at the soil. You would realize that the roots are thirsty. Human beings are no different. Elias didn't have a bad heart. He had thirsty roots. He had gone years without the water of appreciation, the sunlight of rest, or the soil of community. Faith tells us that we are created for connection, but Elias was living in a spiritual desert. His outburst was the sound of a branch snapping in the wind, not because it wanted to break, but because it was too dry to bend. The world operates on dry justice, the idea that you get exactly what you deserve based on your worst moment. If you yell, you are the angry man. If you fail, you are the failure. But mercy is different. Mercy is the decision to look at the why before the what. It's the belief that Elias is more than his mistake. In many traditions, mercy is described as rain on a parched land. When the internet attacked Elias, they were offering more drought. But what he needed was the mercy of someone saying, "I see your burden, and I know this moment isn't who you really are." There is a spiritual truth we often forget. No human being is a finished product. We are all works in progress, mid-sentence in a long story. When we judge Elias, we are closing the book in the middle of a difficult chapter and claiming we know the ending. But the soul is resilient. With a little water, a thirsty root can turn green again. With a little mercy, a broken man can become a healer. Elias isn't a villain. He is a masterpiece that has been left in the rain for too long. Today, we aren't just looking at his snap, we are looking at his soul and seeing that there is still beauty worth saving. If you hold a single puzzle piece an inch from your eye, and it's dark, jagged, and gray, you might say, "This is an ugly piece, it doesn't belong." This is how the world treated Elias. They held up the 30 seconds of his snap and said the whole man was ugly. But wisdom teaches us to pull back. When you zoom out, you see that the dark, jagged piece is actually the shadow at the base of a magnificent mountain. Without that shadow, the sunrise wouldn't look as bright. Elias's mistake is a piece of his life, but it is not his whole life. We're learning to stop judging the piece and start respecting the puzzle. The heaviest weight Elias carries isn't the opinion of the internet, it's his own guilt. He wakes up feeling like he has failed his ancestors and his children. But wisdom tells us that life is not a single drawing, it is a book. A book is designed so that you must turn the page to continue the story. You cannot write a new chapter if you keep rereading the one where you fell down. Elias is learning that he is allowed to forgive himself. He is learning that his breakdown was actually a breakthrough, a signal that the old way of living on 1% battery had to end so a new, sustainable life could begin. The path forward isn't about erasing the mistake, it's about integrating it. Elias will always be the man who snapped in that store, but now he is also the man who learned to set boundaries. He is the man who learned to ask for help. He is the man who realized that being a provider means providing peace for himself too. Wisdom is the ability to look at our scars and see them as maps, not as stains. As Elias turns the page, he isn't just surviving anymore. he is finally starting to live. And the best part? The most beautiful chapters are the ones he hasn't written yet. We started this journey looking at Elias, but by now, you've probably realized we are looking at a mirror. Elias's story isn't just about a viral video. It's about the silent pressure we all feel to be perfect when we are actually just exhausted. It's about the labels we wear and the snap we all fear. If you've ever felt like a pressure cooker, or if you've ever felt like a ghost in your own home, then Elias's story is your story. The question is, what are you going to do with your next chapter? Are you going to keep carrying the backpack alone, or are you going to look for the mercy we all deserve? This is why the Beautiful Life Hub exists. We aren't here to give you another hustle lecture. We are here to provide the water for your thirsty roots. We are a community dedicated to looking past the 30-second snapshots and seeing the whole masterpiece. Here, we analyze the biology of our stress, the sociology of our world, and the faith of our souls. We believe that when you understand the why behind your struggle, you lose the shame. And when the shame is gone, the healing can finally begin. You don't have to be a ghost anymore. As we close the book on Elias's breakdown, we are opening the book on his breakthrough. Elias didn't just get better, he got real. He found a community that didn't record his fall, but offered him a hand. We want to be that community for you. Subscribe to Beautiful Life Hub, not just for stories, but for a new way of seeing. Share this with the breadwinner in your life who feels like they're failing, and let them know the mountain is big, but you don't have to climb it alone. Let's turn the next page together. Once again, this is Beautiful Life Hub, where we bring your way real stories, true wisdom, balanced life. Stay, reflect, engage. A beautiful life begins with empathy.